Hello everyone, this is Leimomi Keliikuli, intuitive soul alignment coach here. So I wanted to jump on here for my LeimomiTV and help you with just discovering about like where your irrational fears are really coming from. So if you don't know who I am an intuitive soul alignment coach, and I basically help my clients and my audience to realign to what they are at soul level, clearing any of their soul level blocks to success that may be, sabotaging their ability to create what they desire and what they need. So I wanted to talk about irrational fears and where is that really coming from. So if you're just jumping on in, just say hello so that I know that you're listening in. And at any time, I will be helping you to, realize what your alignment will be. And I will also have some time for you guys to ask me any questions that you have along the way. So I wanted to just, start with you guys because I have both of you on my Facebook group and also here on my computer. So that's why I'm looking at two different screens, just so you know. And I'm also going to put up something on the screen in a second. So just give me a sec. And also we'll give some time for people to jump on here. So hi, Shantia. I can't really see who's listening in on my computer screen. Okay. Well, anyway, so today's topic is about, why irrational fears are plaguing you from being visible and how you can get rid of them and what it takes to gain clarity through soul alignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about where that really comes from, where this irrational fears and stuff like this comes from, because we usually are not aware of it until we start seeing like chaotic situations happen, like stuff in your outside world that's like telling you that just something is wrong, right? And so I want you to, be aware of it and prepare for how to deal with this. But also there is a very fast way on how we can get rid of it. And I'm going to give you just a snippet of how to do that. Okay. So I'm first going to tell you a story about how I came to I found a way of how to get rid of this irrational fears and stuff. So when I was when I decided to, by the way, I'm just going to tell you a background story about me. So when I was a psychic monk for 10 years, I was basically, helping people and, making millions, and I impacted millions, and I did a lot of readings, healings, did yoga meditations. I taught even Tai Chi, this kind of energetic martial arts. So I know very much about how the body and mind and spirit, they need to really be in alignment. Otherwise, then you have all of these chaotic situations that happens. So when I was trying to figure out on the physical level about everything, I noticed that a lot of this fears and stuff that comes up, they really do come up from the body. And you do need to know about, of course, the energetics of the body, about the physical body and anatomy and all of that stuff too. But what's more important is understanding not just from the physical sense, but on an energetic and spiritual sense, what's really happening when you have all of these kind of irrational stuff in your head. And so when I went through my initiation, my Saturn return, which is just basically where you lose everything, I basically, left the spiritual group so that I could really like follow my heart, which was I wanted to have a family and I wanted to live an abundant life on my terms, right? So when I was in that process, I had so much irrational fears that just didn't really make any sense. And I couldn't tell the difference between it. That was me or my husband or the people that I was with. And it was just like so loud in my head. And the more I tried to get rid of it, the stronger it got. Looking back at what happened during that time, I was being, we call it psychic attack, but it's really where all of my shit that I had in my karmic background, they were coming out from my 3D body. And so I had panic attacks, depression, I really, really wasn't sure about my purpose and all of that, even though, 10 years before that, I was massively successful. So it didn't make any sense to me. Why the heck was I experiencing such the opposite, which was just this loudness, right? And so I went to every shaman, I went to every healer, I went to anybody that I could think of, even kahunas here in Hawaii, and nobody could figure out what the hell was wrong with me, because I was like, well, I have all of these symptoms and I don't have anything physically wrong with me, but I just have all of these fears and all of these, even physical expressions where I didn't feel like I was myself. And it got louder and louder. So then I found the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records changed my life, because Akashic Records, I got into it a lot because I wanted to understand, like, how does that all work and what is the Akashic Records and stuff. And by the way, the Akashic Records is your is where everything that ever exists, the information, like if you can think of the internet, it's the information world for all living beings, and everything is like there, and it's in a library, and it has all of our information about the soul, about everything in the past, present, future. So when you really, really want to know more about what you are at soul level, what your soul's gifts are, what your strengths, what your weaknesses, what's your shadows, all of that is already there, but you do need somebody that could really access it well. So I wanted to test this. I wanted to figure out, well, is that even possible to do all of this clearing work that I learned and I got certified in doing? I took every single training possible to learn about that, and how that also turns into business and all of that too. How to create a business aligned to your soul, right? So that's pretty much what I do now, because I was so into figuring out why would I have so much irrational fears that just didn't make any sense. And it was causing a lot of pain and problems in my physical body. I could barely walk. I was tired. Nothing really made sense as to why I had these symptoms. So this is what I did. I tested on myself. I cleared out 4 levels of clearing work. And this is what I'm going to share with you guys about where these irrational fears are actually coming from at soul level. Okay. So first I need to say that I'm going to make this go up a bit, because then my head is cut off. Okay, there we go. First, I have to tell you that when you have irrational fears, it's really deeply, of course, ingrained in your body. But it's also like in your Akashic Records, because everything of your past, present, future is there too. So the fastest way to eliminate it is going directly to where everything is stored, which is in your Akashic Records. I've tried all kinds of other things to get rid of all this irrational fear, but the only thing that I could find that really instantly works is in the records. But you have to know exactly what you're looking for and what to eliminate, okay? So anyway, back to what I'm saying. We have, I talked about this before, about different dimensional aspects of the soul, okay? You know, we have our 3D, our 4D, and I'm talking about our dimensional aspects, right? And if you want to know about the soul and about this 7-dimensional aspects and stuff like that, go watch my other show that I did. I think it was the other day. It's right on my personal page, but I talked about what the 7-dimensional energies are of the soul. So you have to remember that your physical body, right, on a 3rd-dimensional plane, everything of the physical body is there in the 3D world, right? Everything actually of the mind is in the 4th-dimensional world. Everything spiritual and up, right? Anything that's more spiritual is usually above 5D, okay? And again, this is where we start to get more into higher aspects of the soul. We have access to all of our dimension aspects all the time. Okay, so it's not something like a progression necessarily. It's more like you either going to have access to it or not. Are you going to have that consciousness or not? So your 5D, you're spiritual, right? You have to remember that this is where the Akashic records are. And again, all information about your soul, everything good and bad, it's just laying there. It's just sitting there, information there, right? So when you have all of this irrational stuff, irrational thoughts, behaviors, illusions and stuff like that, they're all really coming from the 4th-dimensional aspect. Irrational fears, or it's really like thought forms. Like think of them as just like floating in space, and it's just there. And so if you ever had any clearing work or healing work from people, usually they only take care of stuff that's in the 4D, because it's like whatever surrounds our body, our chakras and all of that. We can usually only heal up to that level. And like, you know, when you, like, it's like almost like you can edit all of those things, right? But what I have found is that you have to be able to clear out the lower dimensional aspects just as intense as all the other stuff that you do to your physical and your energy body. Usually we only work on our physical body, like, you know, we do self-care, we eat better, we exercise, right? We rest better. Like we usually think of our body as doing it that way. But actually when you do, of course, need to take care of your physicality, but you also need to work on your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual bodies at a much higher aspect. Through doing certain things. Like this is why they say you meditate, you have more time to speak to your soul, or you're trying to connect directly to source and all of that. Like you're doing it intentionally, right? But you have to remember that all of these thought forms and emotions, depending on how much stuff that is stored in your 4D or your 3D, and your 5D, by the way, is anything in your past lives usually. So when we go into your past lives and we clearing out specific things, usually, especially when you do it in the Akashic records, we can clear that information, like as if you like delete it off of the computer, like the programming that's not good for the person. You can actually do that in the 5D, which is in the Akashic records, right? But you do also need to be able to clear out the 4D and the 3D. So this is what I have found, is that you need to be able to clear all of them at the same time. And also if you have a business, you have to clear out all the business stuff that's misaligning you also, because otherwise it's like moving through sludge. And so when you have all of these irrational fears and illusions, they're so loud that you start to experience physical issues, mental issues, and deeper spiritual issues that are related to like karmic stuff, right? From your family line, from 7 generations before and all of that. but you do need help on being able to know where to look for that. And unless you don't have somebody who really knows at that capacity, it's very hard to operate with all of, if you have all of that irrational fears coming up. The irrational fears is the effects of all of your karmic shit from way past, present, and also the trajectory of what you're going to create in the future. If it's not in the right direction, that you're misaligning your wrong parallel reality, that's what all that noise in your head is from. Does that make sense? It's a lot of noise. So when you think about it, this is why you're not able to be visible, because it's all of your lower dimensional aspects, your third, fourth, fifth dimensional aspects, like as loud as, I don't know what you call it, like as if you're in a concert. You know how loud it is, right? How loud it is, your ears cannot contain it. Then what's happening is that it turns into stuff where you have physical issues, you have irrational fears to be visible, you have like feelings of not feeling good enough or self-worth issues, much more deeper mindset issues that have to do with just loving yourself, like some irrational stuff as to why you can't love yourself, and accept who you are, and owning your power and owning your worth. Like all of that stuff, right, is all the combination of all of the fifth dimensional, fourth dimensional, third dimensional stuff that's in your head. So imagine how loud it is, right? And no wonder you cannot move forward, or you cannot think forward, because you're stuck in only hearing and experiencing, and they all come here in your fourth dimension aspect, in your mind, in your head. So this is why you can't sleep at night, you can't focus. What else do you have? Like all kinds of stuff as to why you don't do what you want to do, and you sabotage yourself, and all the self-sabotage that happens to you and around you and to your family and your friends is all because it's all coming out on this dimensional aspect. And then it manifests into physical symptoms of feeling very tired, very exhausted, to chronic conditions becomes panic attacks, becomes narcissistic personalities, it becomes you know, mental disorders and all of this of autism. Like they all are coming out into the physical world of the body. So if that keeps getting bigger, then you cannot spiritually evolve. This is where your spirituality, right? You need to start evolving your ability, your higher dimensional aspects, and I won't go into that right now, but just know that those higher dimensional aspects of yourself, this is your self-expression, this is your purpose, this is your purpose for helping humanity and all of that. They all exist at the higher dimensional aspects of your soul. But if you have all of that noise going on in this part, your 5D, your 4D, and your 3D, you cannot function in your physical body. It's just not possible. So I found this from my experience. When, you know, like I said, when I was a psychic monk, I left the spiritual group, and I thought that all of that pain and suffering I was experiencing, I had panic attacks, I couldn't sleep at night, I couldn't really even function. I could barely even walk at times. So for like the first year, like it was just like so loud, this irrational stuff. I was hiding. I was literally hiding. I would like close all doors and windows and put a blanket over my head, and I didn't want to see anybody because it was so loud. And I didn't know why that was happening. And like I said, I met every kind of healer, teacher that I could think of that could figure out what the heck was wrong with me. I never found it. But then when I found the Akashic records, because remember that's where all information of everything is ever stored for humanity, for all living things. When I accessed it in my 5D, I cleared out 4 levels of work that cleared out the 5D, the 4D, the 3D, and everything that was related to my business aspects, all of those misalignments, and instantaneously, the irrational fears went away. I went from not being able to be visible, not being able to get up out of bed, to having a lot of energy, being actually super focused. If you see how my business has thrived in the past year, what I achieved in 1 year was like 3 years of work in entrepreneurship, because I didn't have any of those blocks in my 5D, my 4D, my 3D, and then my business. So all I needed to do was just really, really operate from my higher spirituality and really bring out my heart creation. So everything that I wanted to create, they came into fruition. Everything that I thought that I needed to do for my business and my life, they all came true. And abundance flowed unlimitedly, because the root cause of what I was experiencing was those 4 different levels. And once I went into those parts in my Akashic records, all of that stuff, the residue of it, they were gone. So, but did I know that? No, I didn't know that until I went in to find out where was the root cause of irrational fear. And that's where it is. It's coming directly from your 4th dimensional aspects. And you need somebody to really go in there to be able to eliminate the biggest, most important stuff that could be blocking you from going out there and being visible. That's the fastest way to do it. That's the fastest way, is you need some help in your Akashic records. But not all Akashic Records practitioners, by the way, know how to do this. They only know maybe how to read it, read information. You need somebody really more advanced to be able to do that. Okay, anyway, so that is the root cause of it. It's coming from your 4th dimensional aspect that is all in the mind. And everything that affects, this is the same thing. If you're doing something physically wrong to your body, it's going to affect your mind and spirit, right? If you do anything that affects the mind, obviously it's going to affect the body and the spirit. And vice versa, if you don't allow yourself to spiritually evolve in your consciousness, then your 4th dimensional and your 3rd dimensional aspects, right, your body and your mind, they also suffer. So you really, really need to make sure that all of those dimensional aspects are cleared. Otherwise, yes, it's super, super loud. Okay, so now that you know where the heck it comes from, right, then you really need to be able to access that part in order to eliminate it, right? And that's the hard part, because you need to be super specific, because that's how it works in the Akashic records. You got to be super specific to find out where it is actually related to specific timelines, specific things of relationships that you had with people. It can be cord connections to certain people. It could be even you being connected to another negative spirit. It could be so many factors. And when I was able to figure out what is the main thing that was blocking that person in the 4D, the 3D, or directly of those particular past lives, it was instantly gone. And they got back their energy and all the stuff, the positive effects that I just described to you. So once you know how to get rid of it, that's the fast way, right? But if you can't do it in your Akashic records, then the next step is you're going to have to do one thing at a time. You have to literally identify all of your root illusions and beliefs that you are believing in. Like you are, how do I say it? Like you are enabling yourself to believe in that thing. And it's simple things like not believing that you deserve to have money, devaluing your worth by charging very low, or it could be even your spiritual stuff too, like believing that a spiritual teacher is supposed to like carry you or something like that, right? Beliefs of, let's see, what are beliefs? Do you guys have any beliefs that are irrational to you that sometimes doesn't make sense? And of course, it's going to be not being able to like even get on a video. That's another big one. Other things, it's like you're just have this irrational fear where you cannot do a step, or you make excuses as to why you can't do it, right? That over and over and over, that loudness in your head, you're going to have to literally go through every single one of them, and you have to eat it up. And what I mean by eat it up, I mean literally like tear it down to pieces until it's nothing, until you cannot believe that even exists any longer. So like, for example, a lot of the times what I did was I went for long walks. And I was very afraid to speak in general, in public, or just speak in whatever I felt like I wanted to share. Now, if you see me, I turn on the video, I don't have any problem. But it was because I had all those irrational fears, so I had to tear it down to pieces. Like literally, like look at where does that come from? So what I did was, one of my biggest fear was, let's see, what's a good example? Oh, one of the biggest things that I had was this belief that spiritual people cannot have money, right? Like they don't deserve to have money or be valued enough. And that actually came from me being a psychic monk, which is like, I didn't get paid much, even though I made millions of dollars for, you know, my teacher and the group. I didn't get any cent. I got $1,800 a month. That was my salary. That was all I got. And I never ever valued money, because I thought, oh, spiritual people don't need money. What? I got a community of people. I just only need enough to pay my rent, pay my car. That was it, right? That is not true. You can have unlimited abundance and freedom just as much as anybody else, right? Just because I'm spiritual doesn't mean that I have to charge so little. So I had that really big belief about that. So what I did was, during the time, I read this book that talked about all of that spiritual tools and spiritual practices that we've been told that is really not the real truth. That we thought spiritual enlightenment is supposed to look like this or whatever. But he was actually talking about like what I'm telling you right now, which is like eat up your shit. Eat up all of those negative thought and beliefs and break it down inside of yourself until you don't believe it anymore. It's like nothing. It doesn't have any charge. You don't have any feelings with that. So whenever that came up, which I looked more deeper into, it was, yeah, I didn't love myself. I didn't have self-acceptance of my own worth. I didn't think I was enough to charge like prices for what I did. I mean, I sold $100,000 type of deals, you know, but I was not able to accept even like that $1,800 for myself. Like I really didn't want that, because I thought that spiritual people don't get any money. So when I was going through this process in myself, I was like, I had to go deep. I had to think about every single thing as to why I couldn't have money. Why didn't I want money? And what it came down to, when I really digged it all the way down, was just I didn't love myself and valued myself enough to be able to receive the money. I could give money to anybody else, but not myself. I could give that $100,000 to somebody else, or $1 million to somebody else's bank account, but I would not be able to receive that money. So during that time, when I had all of that stuff come up, of course I cleared out the Akashic records, but I had to digest even the smaller things just like that, and being able to charge prices that I actually thought was good. And now that I've charged $10,000, $15,000, $25 for my services, now I'm able to embody it and be okay with receiving the money for my own family and for my own self. But back then, when I saw I was having self-worth issues, I had to eat it up. I had to literally eat it up until it's finally all the different reasons of why I should receive that money. And it should be in my own bank account, then I could actually do that. So, but the thing is, you need to identify that root belief or that root thing as to why you have that experience, right? Why you believe in that, okay? Then the next step is you need to start taking soul-aligned actions towards it so that you actually start believing that is actually true. So like I said, like I started charging bigger, higher end prices for myself and received the money for myself. And then I was like, I changed my entire abundance equation, you could say. Like I could receive $1 million, like it was fine. But it was because I had to charge what I thought, everything that I felt that what I do was worth. Then that was when I started to actually be able to receive even more and more and more levels of abundance over a short period of time. And by doing that, I was telling my brain that is possible to receive that, to receive that for myself. Then what I was doing was I was giving actions towards myself so that I could have that in my 3D world, my body, right? So you have to remember again that process, that's soul alignment. You got to take soul aligned actions towards each one of those parts of yourself, right? So you get rid of that illusion. But up until then, like you can't do it just in your head. You actually have to do it physically. And what you do physically shifts all dimensional aspects of your soul, right? It immediately gets rid of any of those irrational fears, the 5D blocks, all of those lower dimensional blocks I was talking about. But doing it that way takes a really long time. It does. Because think about it, how much irrational fears and stuff is there? There's a lot. There's millions of thoughts, mental states, emotions that you have gone through your entire life, in your past lives, and all the parallel lives that's basically kind of running in the background at the same time. That's your future trajectory. And every choice that you're making right now, they're lining you up towards either going towards abundance or away from it, right? It all exists all at once. So this is why you have ultimate choice. You have to choose. You have to choose to take actions towards getting rid of those irrational fears. So the things that you're having trouble with, like whether it's getting on video, whether it's like doing what you love, making money or whatever it is, you have to take those actions until you believe in it, till it's just so normal that you don't even have that thought anymore. And so every time when I talk to my clients after I did their clearing work, it was just so unbelievable what they experienced. They said, like, I went from like, I could not turn on that video to like, I was able to turn on the video and I was able to talk for a whole hour without being scared. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So why did that work was because I got to the root cause of the mindset issue and I eliminated the biggest part of it so that you can actually do what you're meant to do, right? So the negative effects of, you not having that ability is that those irrational fears come up, the visibility issues, the ability to step into your leadership, like all of those things, those are all coming from those dimensional aspects that has exploded in your physicality in your body too. Okay. Then the third thing you want to do is you got to remember that you're human, right? You got to remember that you're an emotional being. You always will be emotional. You always will have feelings. You always will have like hiccups, you could say, right, on your journey. But the most important thing is that you have to remember that you have a choice, that you are sovereign, that you're a sovereign being, that everything does not happen to you. Everything is you made it happen. And that is what is about. What is it about right now? Getting into our higher dimensional aspects, into our spirituality, and we say about getting to the 5D world and stuff like that. It's just all about recognizing that I do have a body. My body needs stuff. I do want to have this sense of freedom. I do want to be able to buy a boat. I do want to be able to buy a house, and accept the fact that you deserve that. But also realize that you have a choice. You have a choice not to let all of that irrational fear to plague you, that you can actually change it by, like I said, getting to the root cause of what the illusion or the belief is and taking soul-aligned actions towards it. And then you're going to feel more access to your soul, right? That's what I mean by soul alignment. I mean, like, you're living in alignment and you're living consciously on purpose towards what your soul needs and what your soul needs to evolve into, okay? So remember that you're human. Because the truth is you're going to be scared no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, we have fears all the time. And the only reason that we have fear is because we have a body. We're spirit living in the body. So we're always going to have, emotions and stuff in these thought forms because we have a body. Because the body is storing all of those thought forms and those beliefs and those illusions, and everything of the capacity is all of that dimensional aspects is stored in the body. So the only way to get rid of it, the fastest way, is taking, again, like I said, those soul-aligned action towards what your soul is and eating up all of that nasty thoughts and emotions and get real with yourself, even to the point where you maybe even swearing at yourself because you're so angry. But usually this process starts from, oh my God, I have this issue, I gotta fix it, to you're just angry at everything. And then you get into this, I'm sad because I have a sad life and I don't want to live like this any longer. And then when you get really, really, really sincere to yourself in that state, then you start crying, and then you realize what you actually are and what you're grateful to have in your life. That is usually the process of eliminating your irrational fears, and you got to get real with yourself until it's gone, till it's no longer there and you don't have that irrational fear or those emotions any longer, okay? So I want to see your guys' comments. Dee says, wow, so true. I see it all the time and I've had it in my life. So it's on my mind. Clear the mind irrationality from the Akashic records. Yeah. Totally. Not good enough, can't speak in public, things like that was plaguing Dee. Wow, quite amazing, right? Like how much stuff we also have. Alicia says, I'm really good at sending people referrals for business, but I never hold my own truth for all the things I'm good at, which I'm still finding clarity on that part so I can truly find ways to help people. Yeah, so you're going to need to look at why do you have that. So I don't refer people to me. I always give that to other people in business. Yeah, why don't you give business to yourself? Like, I mean, it makes logical sense, right? But you have to go look at the root cause as to why you don't allow yourself to do that. Tanya says, choosing to take action and setting an intention is huge, right? And that's also the big process that we need to go towards too, is like to realize what intention that I actually want to make. Like I said, like the action for me when I was like, I don't deserve the money for myself to go on my own bank account, but I can give it to somebody else's bank account. I had to literally look at my bank account and be okay that I have like $10,000 in there, that I actually have more than 20K in there. Like, it was like, wow, like I had to embody it and to accept the fact that I could have that much money at one time, because that's different. When people pay you in full and stuff, you're like, oh, there's like 10K in my account. Wow. Like it's possible. It's totally possible for you to receive that much abundance. But if you don't yourself like value you, to hold that space for yourself, to be okay with having that much amount of money, right? Having that much amount of money in your pocket, that's another story, right? That you need to really look deeply as to why that is. Okay. And the fun and you know what the reason is that we don't allow that is because we've always been also thinking that what we do is kind of a job. It's kind of like separate from us, and you know, we can only receive enough for what I'm supposed to need. Is that kind of mindset, right? Or I have to work really, really hard for that 10K, or I have to work really, really hard for that $1,000, but actually we don't. We just need to know what the value is, give the value, and receive what you have offered to people to give it to you, right? But if we cannot give and receive, just like how you inhale and exhale, you're going to be like full, right? If you keep inhaling and taking all the money and all the fame and all that stuff, but you're not exhaling, right? Or the other way around, where you're just exhaling and getting rid of, you know, paying for all kinds of stuff that you maybe don't even need. This is why people get in debt when they don't actually receive the money to be able to pay for what they actually, you know, exhaled out. Then that's why we have this imbalance. So that's what's really happening, is all of that irrational fear that it's building and building and building, to a point where you are not able to make changes on a physicality and have the freedom that you want and the peace of mind. So it's true, money gives us energy, money gives us the ability to have freedom, but it also gives us responsibility of what we're going to do with it and what we're going to using, right? And when we exhale, the expenses and stuff like that, what we use it for. So again, it's that balance and that dance with realizing that my body needs stuff, right? My human body needs stuff. And also my spirituality also needs to expand at the same time, right? Dee says, I have had to give money to others more than myself. Definitely self-worth issues for me there. Have done a lot of work on myself, moved heaps. Yeah, that's another thing to look at. Probably a lot of you guys also have that too. Like you give, right? But you never ever like receive enough. And that all goes back to feeling enough to give to yourself and valuing yourself. And that's where a lot of the irrational fears end up going, right? You're going towards that. So anyway, anybody have questions about that? Are you guys, what kind of irrational fears are you experiencing? And what does that turn into? Like in terms of, like you lose relationships, you gain relationships, like what happens when all of these irrational fears come up? Like what are you experiencing in your body, in your mind, and your spirit? Because you do need to know the effects and looking at what the effects is, and then going back into the root of where that came from. Because your inner stuff, right, manifests in the outer world. So you can also look at seeing what the outer world effects has happened and work yourself backwards, right, to see what the inner world needs to get shifted. And by the way, if you're external, it's easier for you to do from the outside in. If you're internal, it's easier to do from the inside out. So you really need to know the relationship with how you relate to people, or the relationship that you have with yourself that needs to get shifted. Okay. So lastly, this is why you really do need not only the clearing work, like I was explaining to you. And by the way, if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can private message me. And I do that in my private programs. I have a whole list of how I can help you with the different levels that needs to get cleared. Of course, you know it's going to be a lot more money. But if you really feel like you just need momentum and you need help to get you towards there, and just like learning how to take soul line actions, and this is why I have my 14-day soul line manifestation method program that's actually going on right now. It's going on live. So you guys still can join for that if you want. And then after that step, then you need to expand your psychic gifts and your ability to own and receive money and receive the your spirituality and your ability to feel oneness with your business. And then that's when we get into my 30-day program of activating your highest psychic gifts. Each program that I created, they're all meant to get rid of all of this irrational fear of being visible, and clearing out all that noise to taking aligned actions. So don't be afraid that it's not possible, that you can do it by yourself. You can, but it might be harder if you don't have the soul alignment piece. You don't know what you are at soul level. So when I look you up in your Akashic records, I find out what your soul is and what kind of things that you're going to need to align to for your program. For your getting rid of those irrational fears and things like that, right? I just saw you guys all had comments. He says, I'm in the money value offer situation, a bit about charging the right price and not getting stuck in, is it too much? Will they pay more? And D, you have to remember that you're kind of just starting with your prices, so you don't really know what's the best value yet. So you do need to like do market research, basically, right? It says, what does it mean come from the external? Oh, I was talking about one part of people's manifesting blueprints is that you can be external or internal. External people, they need to shift and change the way that they have relationships with other people, because that information of how they relate to other people actually allows them to know themselves more deeply. And then that's how they know what they need to change and shift it within themselves. And then that's what they change. They go from the outside in. Internal people, they actually need to not care about anything anybody else says or any relationships outside of themselves. They can just look at what has manifested, right? Like how people treat you and stuff like that. But the most information you get about what you are at soul level and what you actually need to shift into about yourself internally, you got to do it inside. And then when you do it from inside, you get self-realization after self-realization. And then that's what changes, is from the inside out. So different from external people. So you really need to know your manifesting blueprint. You need to know, are you external or you're internal? That's like one big thing, because what happens is if you are external, you're doing internally, you always end up in chaotic situations, or the change doesn't happen. Like, for example, I always gave this example, but when I first launched my webinar, and I was, we were planning on, retiring my husband from his 9-to-5 job, and we put in a 2-week notice, and we did like everything on, externally that we think that was necessary to do it. And I also worked on myself more deeply, getting into the mindset that I was going to be the breadwinner of my family and all of that. And nothing changed. It was so chaotic. It was so bad. And I couldn't figure out what the heck it was. Then I realized that, because I'm external, right? Once I realized that, I needed to shift what I was doing on my external world, like how I was relating to my husband, relating to my son, relating to his job, and relating to like all these different aspects. When I shifted the relationship with other people, that was when it shifted. And then what I did was I posted on Facebook. I said, I'm doing it. I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur. I'm going to be breadwinner of my family. I'm going to retire my husband from his 9-to-5 job. And I just made one post. And literally the next day after I made that one post, it was quiet. The chaos stopped. Everybody, my family was so peaceful. Even it was like blue skies. I swear to God, like it was like blue skies. Everybody was happy all around me, including everybody else congratulating me and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't realize how important it was to shift my external relationship about like how people thought about me and all that kind of stuff. And then I could change what I needed to do to change my internal. That does not work for internal people, okay? So different process, such a different process if you're internal or external, okay? Maureen says, I don't know if I can ask this here. What is that? Oh, Maureen, for your clearing, I did the level 1 work. There's 4 levels of clearing work that I do. And when you do VIP for my group program, like I do either the level 1 or level 2 clearing work, depending on which one you took first. And so when you work with me longer, I would do the level 2 work, which is the Irrational Fear, the 4D blocks. The level 1 work that I do is going to be the 5th dimensional, that's in your Akashic records, that's deeply related to karmic stuff of why you're not visible, why you can't have fame and fortune and all of that externally. Okay. But yeah, the big clearing I did for you was just the level 1, just the first level. And usually when you work with me, that's the biggest, because there's like over 20 some like soul level blocks that I remove that in one sitting. So then you just get catapulted forward, and a lot of the things that was chaotic or whatever was like misaligning to you, they all just disappear. You just get into this very, very peaceful space. Any other questions you guys got? I'm just like looking through your comments on both sides. You're welcome, Maureen. So anyway, you first need to, like I said, you need to learn what is your soul. And that's why you need your blueprints. That once you know what your blueprints are, then you can take soul line action towards it. Once you start taking soul line actions towards it, then you start to develop your more expansive gifts, which obviously, even if you're not psychic, by the way, your abilities just start to grow and you have more access to it, to use it, and you start to get more integrated to be able to use your gifts. Then after that, then that is just operating and doing your divine service. So once you start doing your divine service, then all of these irrational fears and all of these blocks, things that were restricting you, they just don't exist any longer. And then the only thing that you really need to work on is actually just whatever mindset stuff that keeps coming up. That's of course directly related to how you feel and you value yourself. But now, because like I said, when I eliminated all of those 4 levels of blocks of my soul, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd dimensional blocks and stuff in my business, I don't have any of those thought forms any longer. I don't have any of those irrational fears because I cleared it in your Akashic records, and your Akashic records is where all that information is stored. So once we clear it from there, and the 4D and the 3D in your business, then everything of your body, mind, and spirit, they can be integrated, and you have more access to your soul's gifts. That's essentially what happens, yeah. Maureen says, I can say the blueprints really made a difference and helped me to understand me more. Yes, absolutely. Like I've already, I gave Maureen her blueprints like a couple, maybe a week or 2 ago, and already I'm seeing her shifting and really, really owning her gifts. And the clarity will keep coming because she's just, she's starting your business, but the clarity will come as you start owning who you are and operating from who you are and taking that aligned action towards it. Then the more you do that, the more you're going to feel that alignment, that soul alignment, and you stop questioning yourself basically. And you have less of those irrational fears and things like that coming up, okay? All right, anyway, if you are, listening to me, make sure that you join my Soul Alignment Leaders and Conscious Living Facebook group. You can just look that up on my business page, or you can just type that in in the search. Also, you can take my Monetize Your Divine Gifts business quiz, And that quiz will help you to know exactly what your soul's gifts is and what type, because I was able to type into 3 types of soul's gifts. And that's kind of like getting an idea of what your blueprints might look like. If you want to know more about your soul's blueprints and you want to go deeper into this, then you can work with me privately. And if you're ready for that, then we can do a kind of a discovery session with my Monetize Your Divine Gifts breakthrough session. And in that way, I'm going to help you to understand like, well, where you are and what you want to, what is the next step for you, what needs to get cleared, and I'll kind of like guide you towards what kind of program might be best for you. Otherwise, the first level to start with this soul alignment is taking that 14-day soul alignment manifestation method program that I was talking about. And we just started on that program. So it'll be a really, really good opportunity to know what your soul level, because I give you what your blueprints are. And then you just start taking aligned action towards it. And that will help you to get rid of that irrational fear and those beliefs, because it's the fastest way. Believe me, it's either you need to do the clearing work or you need to take soul line actions towards it. And then that is the fastest way that you're going to get rid of all of that noise and that irrational fear, visibility, and everything like that that's coming up. Okay. All right. So we're all good. Every day, I think I'm not sure if I'm going to do it every day, but pretty much around at this time, 4 p.m. my time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's when I'm going to do my Leimomi TV show, and I'm going to give you more and more tips like this about specific topics that might be blocking you and how to get into soul alignment. So make sure you go there on my personal page. Well, some of you guys are seeing it accidentally, but go on my personal page or go and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, I have like hundreds of videos of all of this kind of stuff that you just learned today. And hopefully this enlightened you. Hopefully that you got so much value from this that you want to go further and help into getting into your soul alignment. All right. So you guys all have a beautiful day, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Aloha.